All right, guys, so today is a Corvette Z06 style video, but today we're going to be lowering and widening this beauty. But before we do, we have to go pick up somebody who's going to help us do this, and he is the guest of honor today. So let's jump into TRX, go grab him, come back here, and make this thing even lower and even wider than it already is. Let's do it. Can't waste a tunnel here in Pittsburgh. Oh man, not bad for a truck, right? And another one, why not, right? Oh, I love the AWE system on this truck.
How's it going, man?
There he is. What's up, Corey? How's it going, man?
Good.
How you like
Good
Pittsburgh?
breakfast, and I'm ready to go.
How you like Pittsburgh?
Oh, it's good so far. Can't complain.
Is this first time?
First time.
Oh, Lord. I'm sorry. All right, guys. So we're heading back to the garage to do some work on the C8. So, yeah, Corey from Paragon's in the house. We're going to get this done.
1 hour later.
All right, guys. So, like I said, we are going to do first the lowering and the widening of the Z06. And the man of the hour is Corey from Paragon Performance.
Hello.
He is here to help with this because the front end of the car, as you guys know, I have the front end lift. It requires something a little different than the usual car where you can just come in here with coilover springs, ratchet it down, and then it's all done. Corey was nice enough to fly out here again and assist with this. So first thing we're going to do, I guess, would be probably jack the car up in the air, right?
Yeah, get the car up in there, put the shields around the rotors to pull your wheels off. And then it's just as simple as removing the assembly. The shock assembly comes out the same as the stinger on these cars. You got your 3 13 millimeters up top, your 11 millimeter bolt for the bleeder, and then the 21 millimeter bolt and nut on the bottom, and the shock just comes right out. And the process is the same. When we get to that point, I'll show you what the differences are, because there's a helper spring on these that the Stingray doesn't have, but that doesn't impact the overall install of the collars.
That is exactly why I brought him. All that information in like what, 20 seconds? That would have taken us all day to figure all that out. Before we get started though, guys, we're gonna do the obligatory measurement here. So from the center of the wheel up, we have just a hair over 28. Let's see what it ends up being. Let's hope for like 25. No, just kidding.
Just cut the spring.
Yeah, hopefully, I would love to see that come down an inch, but we'll see. Starting into it already here, he's disconnecting the mag ride right there. And we kind of already noticed that some of the work's already done here because of the fact that I have that front bumper off. But normally you would have to take off the trim around here to get access to the strut covers, but you don't have to in this case. So
Hard work's done.
yeah, the hard part. You guys got to watch with the carbon ceramic rotors. Comes included with basically a pool noodle. That's what that is. But you just got to wrap that rotor, because when you pull off that wheel, there is a chance you would hit that rotor, and then that's it. Game over. You need to replace it. And they're not cheap. So just like that, guys, we got the wheel off.
So you've got the 21 millimeter bolt and nut, and then the 11 millimeter bleeder screw, which is going to be on this other side. And then the mag ride connector, which just is super simple. You just push down on the red tab. So that's up out of the way. So we'll get the 11 millimeter bolt out, these 21s out, and then the shock just comes out after that. All right.
That's all there is to it, huh?
That's it. Yeah, so now what we're gonna do is we need to remove this protective sleeve, de-pin it, use the mag ride socket I gave you to get the nut off, and then also we're going to use a Sharpie to just notate where everything is right now before I take anything apart, just to make sure everything's in the correct orientation when we put it back together. But this silver collar is what's getting removed to get replaced.
You have definitely done this before.
First time.
Different marking for a different side. Like, I would not even have thought to do that, and then after I took it apart, I'd be like, oh crap.
Yeah, like a front and a back, and then put a little dash to just do it just out of habit, because I definitely have flipped that around once or twice. So just to make sure, because when the collar comes down, it covers most of this.
Yeah.
So just anything to help kind of make sure that you're in that orientation.
So here's the collar and the tools in a nice little Paragon Performance box. Look at this. It's like opening up an iPhone. Check that out. And they're black. It's like they know me.
Right? Yeah, so we've got the collar, shim, collar shim, socket, D-pin, and spacer for the hose, which will go into that when I go to do it.
So basically just separating the plastic housing at
Yeah,
this
this is just a protective sleeve.
There it is.
All right, so put that to the side, and then the D-pins, what I do, we're pretty sure there's no orientation that's required, but just kind of like the shock, I like to make sure black wire goes to where it was. So I always do an extra notation of where the black wire was. Now it's gonna kind of be hard to see, but there's two purple connectors in here. What we're needing to do is take the bent side of the D-pin tool, put it in, and pretty much try to click them to release it. So we'll try to get a quick shot of you listening to that. Now the little rule of thumb that I always have is I put one finger underneath the wires to hold tension. So the whole time while I have the D-pin in there, I'm pulling tension on the wire so I can feel it click to release. My first time doing this took me about 2 hours.
Oh, there's one. There it is.
Courtesy of Alex at Paragon for teaching me how to do that.
Nice.
All right, so now, usually you'd have like a spring compressor and everything on here, but with a helper spring, you can actually just like push this down.
Oh yeah.
So what we have found is that I'll use the impact and everything and start just loosening this up, and did not need a spring compressor. You can still use it for your safety. A lot of guys would like to, but we have not at the shop. And you want to be really careful in doing this, especially if you're on a bench, that these wires don't hit the corner of a bench or anything, because you don't want these to, or the pins, excuse me, you don't want them to bend. So I always do very small increments.
There it is.
Yep. You would not want to do that without a helper spring. All right. So now we're just going to make sure all this is put back the exact same way. Comes off.
There is a lot to this.
And you record the whole process. That way you can step back and watch it.
Yep.
So now a little bit of fluid's going to come out of here, so you can cover it if you want, but you need to pretty much act this like a hammer to get this sleeve off. So just like that. Put this to the side.
So that silver thing right there is what's getting replaced, huh?
This is it.
So you can clearly see the difference between that and
So
this.
the difference is, so this is what it's actually sitting on, is that lip.
Oh yeah.
Our lip,
About
I'm
an
kind of
inch
seeing
down.
here,
Yep.
is at like 3/4 of an inch down in comparison. So that's what's actually setting down and making it lower to match the refractory coilover adjustment. And then you have the shim that goes in here that just pretty much changes that orientation, which is a 3/8 riser shim. So you're still getting a drop, just not as much as the 3/4 of an inch if we have to use it.
Yeah. So guys, if we have to use that, it is fully dependent on the welds at the bottom of the strut here. So Chevy kind of changed.
And on this side, you got lucky.
Yes.
So the first customer's car that we did, this weld here, pretty much it was sitting like that. So you
Yeah.
can see that's not straight. And it's because they just had too much weld material. With here, you've got full rotation. It's
Perfect.
no issues.
Awesome. So
At least on this side.
hopefully it's the same.
All right, and then all we're doing now is pretty much repeating everything we just did. So that is as low as you can possibly go at all.
Yeah.
It's 3/4 of an inch. Now, a lot of us and the other two manufacturers make them will say, it's up to about an inch.
Yeah.
It's just easier to say the inch than
Yeah.
3/4, but
Right.
that is the max drop currently available on a front lift car until we come out with new springs. And that'll hopefully be about another inch.
Yeah. And we'll see what happens here, because if I'm not happy with how low this goes, we may have to do the springs in the future.
All right, so we're gonna repeat our steps. What's nice about the springs is that it's just a flat bottom, so they're super easy to line up because they can kind of rotate and do whatever. Much easier than the Stingray. There's your helper spring. sleeve.
He made it look easy, I'll be honest. It's probably not as easy as he made it look, but
It's pretty simple.
It's pretty easy.
I promise. These are easier to do. I mean, what, we've been at this for 15 minutes?
yeah, most of it's
And
talking.
it's
Yeah.
done. They are easier to do than the Stingray because you don't have to whip out the spring compressor or anything like that. So
Yeah. So guys, while he's putting his strut back together, I came in here and took a look at this carbon ceramic rotor. This thing is massive. I knew they were bigger, but they're also significantly thicker. I mean, that's like 2 inches thick.
all right, so everything's put back assembled right now. I still need to put the connector back in. Everything's nice and tight. So now I'm just making sure that my lines are in the correct orientation on both the sides that I did. Again, the brake fluid will wipe off the Sharpie, so a little bit extra, not gonna hurt everything. Also gonna double check that nothing looks like it's buckled, twisted. The collar does block off my marking down here, so I made extra markings underneath, which it's kind of hard to see because, again, black Sharpie, so you could always use the silver one. But everything that I could tell is correct. So once I put this connector back in, put the sleeve back on, this side's done and good to go. All right, so we're gonna follow my previous marking again. I used the black Sharpie to match the black wire. Not sure if there is an orientation that matters on this, but again, it never hurts to put it back together the way that you pulled it apart. And then the purple is towards me, so I want the clip connector towards me as well, because again, that's what we'd be pushing against with the deep end tool to disconnect it. So we're gonna slide that in. You'll feel a little bit of a pinch, and that's in. Same thing with the white wire towards me. That's it. So yeah, so there's your load.
There's
one.
our promotional shot right there.
Right there, money shot.
Yeah, those are nice. Too bad you're really never going to see them.
Yeah. All right, now that we got the strut back in, we need to repeat the steps of putting the 21mm bolt and nut in on the bottom, the 11mm leader screw in the front lift connector. Now, this is an important time. You're going to want to make sure to double check down here towards the bottom that these two bushings or covers have not buckled in any way or are twisted. Right now they're not. That's just a quick indication to show you that something is not aligned properly, and you might want to pull it back out and double check that those Sharpie lines that you made did not change orientation. But right now we're good to go.
So one thing to remember, guys, is with the lowering kit from Paragon, it does come with a spacer for the bracket right here. That is, this bracket actually holds the front end lift hydraulic hose. So you see that little spacer he's putting in there? That will basically just make it so that the hose doesn't get stretched out too far, because you lowered it, it is putting a little more stress on it, but that spacer takes care of that problem. And that is a, what, a 10mm bolt?
Yep, 10mm bolt, and just kind of doing it a little blind here. That's why I messed up the first time.
It goes behind the bracket.
Correct.
All right, guys, so we're done with the front. We're not going to measure anything out just yet because the e-brake's on, so everything's kind of up in the air still. We're going to back this thing out a couple times and make sure that everything's settled before we do any measurements, but I can already tell it's lower. We're going to move on to the rear. We're going to show you how to lower the rear. The rear is a lot easier, and we're also going to make it wider back here. And I'm sure by now you're asking, how are you going to make it wider, Justin? What are you going to do? We're going to use some wheel spacers, but Corey and Paragon have a really interesting approach to wheel spacers, we'll say. So we're gonna show a couple different options here and kind of let you guys decide. But ultimately, this wheel is gonna fit in that fender the same way the front one does, which is gonna be much more flush, because you can see down the side, the front one fits pretty flush, but the rear one is definitely sunk in more, and it's not a great look. So we're gonna fix that. All right, so we got the rear wheel off. Corey's going to talk to us a little bit about how we're going to lower the rear. Like I said, it is easier, but...
Yeah, so we've got this plastic sleeve here. So this sleeve's going to come off. There is some electrical tape that's just on there from the factory. So that's as simple as removing it. You might need to use a flathead screwdriver or a razor blade. Again, it's just there to hold it on from the assembly line. We got the electrical tape removed. You do not need to worry about replacing it. So now you're just going to use 2 flathead screwdrivers to kind of work your way up in between this sleeve. Sometimes you can do it with just 1, other times you need 2. Don't worry really about marring it up, because again, it's just a protecting sleeve to make sure dust and debris doesn't get on the coils themselves and the threads. So just work it in there, turn it clockwise, and it'll pop down. So from here, what we're going to do is use our coilover wrenches to loosen this bottom one, turn it down to about 1 thread, and then use the bigger coilover wrench to turn this one down to match it, tighten it up, and you're done. That's how you lower the factory Z06 mag ride coilovers.
Now again, we have the Paragon Performance beautiful unboxing experience here, which is, like I said, very Apple-esque. Look at those. Branded Corvette and everything. So this is what you would need to lower the car. You would use this on the front and the rear if you don't have a front end lift. So
yep. We're gonna start by breaking the bottom one loose. Sometimes you can do it without the top one, sometimes you need it. So that's broken loose, and then the rest is just by hand. We're gonna get to where you see about 1 thread right there. You could turn it down more, but it would just fall. So you want about 1 thread visible. We're gonna use the big coilover wrench to turn this down to match that, and then tighten it up and put the sleeve back on. Sometimes, and we'll see here in a second, I usually use duct tape to hold these 2 pieces together, because otherwise this will spin. So you'll see here, or you can hold it as well. But in this case, it's spinning on me, so I am gonna grab some tape. So just gonna put 2 pieces of duct tape between the black and the silver, just so I can keep my other hand free. Assist if needed. And we start spinning. Need that SpongeBob entry. 5 minutes later.
yeah.
5 minutes later.
All right, so now we are all the way lowered. We still got about that 1 thread I can put my fingernail in. I'm gonna use my left hand for the top wrench, the right hand for the bottom. And there's no real torque spec or anything. You just wanna make sure it's tight. Remove your duct tape, grab the plastic sleeve, walk this around, back up. You're done. Rear's lowered.
And after the car was moved and settled a little bit, this is what we came down to. So pretty much 27 inches. Yeah, that's up almost an inch drop, which is really, really good, guys. It looks fantastic. Corey freaking knocking it out of the park. Paragon with their parts. Man, it's looking good.
All right, so we're gonna move forward and doing the 15mm wheel spacers on the back of this car. We do have to do some modification to these factory lug studs. Now, it is important to note, and we'll show this, that the very end of the lug stud that we are modifying isn't used for anything. It's just extra area to kind of help guide the wheel on. Now, if you have a pair of wheel hangers, kind of helps you with that anyways. So we're not adversely affecting anything with the functionality, the mechanical sense, or the safety of the factory lug studs being modified. So what we're going to be doing is using the 15mm wheel spacer, which if you're familiar, we already have and sell the 20mm wheel spacer for the Stingray. A lot of guys are asking, why can't I just use the 20mm wheel spacer? Well, that's why I brought it, because we're gonna put one on the left side of his car and the 15 on the right, and we're gonna leave Justin to give you his feedback on which one he wants to move forward with. But the reason why we are not offering this for the Z06 currently is that it is too aggressive for our liking on setting the wheel too far out and pushing it past the fender. So we're utilizing the 15mm wheel spacer. What we're doing differently, however, is with Matt, we're using the 15mm wheel spacer lug nut. Now you can see that the head of that is extremely small. Matt and I actually stripped one out because there's not a lot of head unit on this for this socket to connect to be able to torque it down to the required 140 foot-pounds. Alex, our technician at Paragon, brought up the idea saying, what if we use the 20mm lug nut instead? Our original worries were that with the thicker lug nut, it protrudes past the wheel spacer. He brought up the point, that doesn't matter because the lug studs, the factory ones, are going to be pushing through it anyways. We just needed to verify if these would fit in the cavities of the new Z06 style wheels. With that, we have now verified they fit, and they fit perfectly. So even though this lug nut is going to protrude past the 15mm wheel spacer, it will still fit. We have already done this prior. Justin, you're not our tester for this, I promise. We have done this. you have a taillight warranty. But we have verified this already works. We had a local customer help us with this. It was a great fitment. We loved it. He loved it. So we're going to move forward with this. But again, it does still require the modification of the factory wheel studs to cut off the very end of that, which does not have any threads or anything different. Now, before we release this to the public, the next step that we're going to do is that we're going to include an open and lug nut that's about 26 millimeters in length. That way, when you are cutting your factory lug studs, I'll give you a prime example here. It's roughly going to be about that long when you tighten it down. So it's going to act like a guard. That way you only cut the end of this off and you don't accidentally risk getting into the threads. So just an extra little courtesy thing that we're having to keep our customers comfortable in doing them themselves, or if they take it to a shop, they have that guide there. So we are moving forward with that. We're going to get the 15 millimeter wheel spacers on Justin's car on the one side, the 20 millimeter on the other side, and he'll go through his personal review, non-biased as a customer. And as always, we are looking for your feedback on what your thoughts are on us offering this 15 millimeter wheel spacer for the Z06.
All right, guys, so you saw the previous fireworks show, and that was to get, man, those are really clean.
First time.
So he got the lug kind of grinded down to a flat surface, but did not touch the threads, of course. So yeah, with the spacers in place, this is the 15 millimeter, and he told me he did not do this on purpose, but I like it. I like it a lot. So I matched up the Paragon with the skull on the carbon ceramic rotors. Next, obviously, we're going to get the wheel on there and see how the fitment looks. Of course, this has been lowered as well, so it's going to look really good. Wow, guys, I'm this far away and I can feel the exhaust hitting my legs. It's insane. Guys, so here we are. I'm going to do my best to kind of show you around the 5 millimeter difference between 15 millimeter spacers and then the 20 on the other side. So if we look down the side of the car, you can see the fender is flush with the wheel, not the tire, but the wheel. And the same is to be said with the front. So it looks very stock, very like it should have come this way, basically. That's the 15. That's the one that requires the grinding of the studs. So if you don't like that idea, you can go with the 20. But in my opinion, I match with Corey on this. The 20s stick out just a little too far, and then they don't match the front. So it's very obvious something's different here versus the front, whereas the 15 looks more stockish. That's the best way I can describe it. But I mean, you can see it here. The tire is sticking out past the fender, whereas over here, the tire is still inside, but the wheel is flush with the fender, the wheel lip, just like the front. So yeah, I would personally say the 15s. Obviously, Corey does the same, and Paragon in general will probably say
We're doing the 15s.
Yeah.
Yep.
So yeah, that's my opinion. Hopefully this showing you in person maybe will help you make your decision. But literally the only reason to go this route would be to not grind the studs. But honestly, if you want that perfect look, it's 15 millimeter.
Couldn't agree more.
All right, guys, that is going to do it for today's video. So if you liked what you saw, please smash that thumbs up button. A big thank you to Paragon Performance and Corey for making this happen. I mean, really, he came out here, did all the work for the most part. I handed him tools. So big thank you to Corey.
That's important.
Thanks again. The car looks awesome. You guys are going to kind of be the judges of whether or not you want the 15 or the 20 millimeter spacer in the rear. But either way, the car definitely needs lowered. And Paragon Performance, of course, knocked it out of the park. Their products are amazing. Their support is amazing. I couldn't ask for a better experience here with them. So, yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah, we couldn't be happier with this opportunity, and we'll have our Z06 here soon enough, so you guys will start seeing more and more content, and everything we did for the Stingray is going to be coming out for the Z all with a matter of time. And other than that, again, I think the 3/4 inch drop that we did is perfect, and the 15mm wheel spacers, like you said earlier, is more the perfectionist wanting to be able to match the front. So looking forward to hearing everybody's feedback and what the next project is.
Yeah. We got plenty of them coming, guys. So make sure you subscribe, and I will catch you in the next upload.